It's time for Lefties Losing It. Rosie ODonnell. We're going to talk about Rosie again. She continues to make a fool of herself in TV interviews. It appears since fleeing America due to an incurable case of TDS, her full-time job is doing these daft interviews where she says stuff like this.
I knew after reading Project 2025 that if Trump got in, it was time for me and my non-binary child to leave the country. And although I was not one of the celebrities who announced that that's what I would do, I made the decision within my family and my therapist, and should he win, and then when he did, we made the plan into action, and we were gone before he was inaugurated.
Yes, she fled with her non-binary child to a country that is more socially conservative than much of America, certainly more than the blue city she fled. Rosie is not that bright, it seems. Perhaps she missed the fact that Ireland's abortion laws are pretty strict, only freely available in the first trimester, or the fact that fewer than 1 in 5, 17% in fact, of Irish folk agree with laws allowing a person to change their birth certificate when they self-identify as the opposite sex. But Rosie doesn't care about those sorts of facts. She's obsessed with Project 25.
It's been heartbreaking, I have to tell you. I knew that if I was in the United States and watched him destroy the country and the Constitution and really pay no mind to any of the laws that the founders stood by and that our country stands for as a beacon of shining light and freedom for the rest of the world, that should he do what the Heritage Foundation said he was going to do in that Project 2025, that we were going to be in big trouble. And it's as bad as they promised and even a little bit worse. And it's been heartbreaking and personally very, very sad to watch.
I tell you, not everyone is happy with Rosie moving to Ireland. Let's hear from this local woman.
Rosie ODonnell has just moved to Ireland. How do you feel about her coming to Ireland?
I'm pretty disgusted, to be honest. I'm fully aware of the housing situation here, and for someone to come to our country to hide from the President of the United States, they're very not welcome here. It's absolutely disgusting.
Now to the University of North Carolina, where Republican Nancy Mace was being heckled by some dude in a dress demanding an apology. Listen here how his voice changes about halfway through this exchange.
Does your husband call you babe? I'm not married. Okay, so even better. I don't care. Okay, so I would like for you to apologize, but it is derogatory, and second of all. Is tranny derogatory to you?
Well, yeah. Of course the
Tranny. Yeah, tranny. If that's derogatory, you are I'm sorry.
Oh, that was a dramatic change, wasn't it? And why did he pick up that pot plant? Was he going to water it or hurl it at someone? Now, let's check in with our friends at CNN who are now reporting on Joe Biden's cognitive decline. It's a little bit late now. Let's have a look at what they were claiming last year in the lead up to that debate with Donald Trump.
President Biden has spent days locked in intense preparation, surrounded by his closest advisors at Camp David. And our sources are telling us tonight that full mock debates are underway at the podium, under the lights. He's even watching tape to know exactly what he's going to see when he steps up to that lectern. His team shot a video during a walkthrough of the CNN studio. And as I reported while covering him at the White House, when Biden prepares, he does so incredibly intensively.
Oh, really, Caitlin? Incredibly intensively? Does that include poolside naps because he's got no idea what's happening? Let's hear what CNN is saying now that it doesn't really matter. And thanks to Mays Moore for this bit of gold.
So just how worried were Biden aides before the former president's disastrous debate last summer? According to Ron Klain, his chief of staff, his concerns could not be overstated. At his first meeting with Biden for debate prep, quote, Klain was startled. He'd never seen Biden so exhausted and so out of it. Biden was unaware of what was happening in his own campaign. Halfway through the session, the president excused himself and went off to sit by the pool. The part about the pool, he went off, this is in the middle of debate prep, went off to the pool and he took a nap.
And let's hear from Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, who claimed that Biden was as sharp as a tack. Now she thinks her lies about the president are some big joke.
Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline.
Can you believe that? That interviewer, Sam Fragoso, did a fantastic job there. These people really are beneath contempt. Listen to Pocahontas here.
He was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Now, after that dinner at the White House, lefty luminary Bill Maher is doing his best to redeem himself with the loony mob who are outraged that this ardent Trump hater would break bread with the president and then give an honest appraisal of what happened during that dinner. But as Maher said, he was not going to stop criticising the president or the VP, it seems.
We have a constitutional crisis. Today, Melania had a jacket that said, "I'm starting to care." And not just Trump, J.D. Vance, our vice president, he's in Rome. You know, he's a convert, a recent convert to Catholicism. I know he's married to a Hindu, goes right to the Catholics. I don't know what that says. He converted to Catholicism because he heard priests like little pricks. So.
I'm not sure that's going to be enough to stop the hit pieces and the mockery from the likes of Larry David, who lampooned Maher with this piece in the New York Times entitled "My Dinner with Adolf." In it, David wrote, "Here I was, prepared to meet Hitler, the one I'd seen and heard, the public Hitler, but this private Hitler was a completely different animal." Joining me now is Newsweek Senior Editor-at-Large and Article 3 Project Senior Counsel, Josh Hammer. Josh, how disappointing to see this unfunny mess from a comedy great like Larry David.
Well, I wish I could say it were surprising, Rita. It's not even remotely surprising. Larry David has one of the most notorious cases of Trump derangement syndrome from sea to signing C here in the United States. You know, it's worth noting that since October 7th and the horrific tragedy in Israel there, so Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David co-created Seinfeld, the sitcom here back in the 1990s there. Jerry Seinfeld, to his credit, has actually been very outspoken against the raging pro-Hamas mobs. Larry David has not said a single word. And this is a man who, it's actually much more than just that one issue for him. You know, I heard once upon a time a story from Alan Dershowitz, of all people, another man who has heterodox political views. But apparently Larry David saw Alan Dershowitz at a supermarket or a local convenience store in Martha's Vineyard, where I guess they both have a house. And Larry David just started yelling at the top of his lungs at Alan Dershowitz for having the temerity to represent Donald Trump in his impeachment proceedings back in 2020 there. I mean, Larry David, this is not a fun thing for me to say. I actually love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think Larry David genuinely is a funny person when he wants to be a funny person, but as is too often the case, whether it's Larry David, whether it's Robert De Niro, whether it's any of these other celebrities who are very good when they stay in their lane, but they have a very nasty habit of getting outside their lane. Frankly, Rita, between me and you, I happen to be a huge proponent of the old Laura Ingraham line, which was said in a very different context about LeBron James, of shut up and dribble. So in this particular case, to Larry David, I would say, shut up and just tell some funny jokes.
He's almost become a caricature of his character on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I've got to say, I loved Curb so much, but the last couple of seasons, it did kind of jump the shark a little bit. Still had a few good moments, but there's just a lot of weaker moments. Well, you know what? No one can be in peak condition throughout their comedy career, and I guess Larry David is an example of that. But that piece was just so pitiful, Josh. I mean, and so cliched to go to a Hitler analogy. Really? I mean, like, it's just so old and I don't know. I thought he was above that.